And welcome to another exciting episode of She Said, She Said's #iCandy series, in which we celebrate and honor internet movers and shakers who are ideal. These incredible men and women are interesting, innovative, and iconic. Hence, we fondly refer to them as eye candy. I'm Lanea Stagg, the culinary chef and your co-host of She Said, She Said, and I'm the author of the Recipe Records series of rock and roll cookbooks, which are now available on Amazon. They are lots of fun, full of good food and great rock and roll stories, facts, and trivia. So please check them out at laneastagg.com. And hey, while you're there, sign up for my free newsletter and my rock and roll blog. And make plans to come and see me in person September 20th and 21st at Beatles at the Ridge, which is a free Beatles festival and symposium in Walnut Ridge, Arkansas, where I'll be joined by some of the most respected Beatles authors, experts, artists, and musicians in the United States, including the rock and roll detective Jim Birkenstadt, the author of The Beatle Who Vanished, The Life of Jimmy Nicol, Art Schreiber, an outstanding journalist for the Westinghouse Network, who traveled along with the Beatles on the 1964 North American tour, and Ken Orth, the collector of the incredible Meet the Lookalikes exhibit of art, which pays tribute to Beatles record covers and the Beatles themselves. Those are just three of the incredible guests that you'll enjoy at the Ridge, and I'll be there to welcome you along with someone who is here with me waiting in the wings.
Hey, Lanea. Hey, guys. I will be at Beatles at the Ridge with bells on, in fact. And for those of you who are new to She Said, She Said, I'm Lanea's trusty sidekick, Jude Southerland Kessler, author of the John Lennon Series, which is a highly, crazily researched and documented 9-volume narrative history detailing the life of John. And, of course, if you tell John's story, you have to tell the story of his mates, the Beatles. Now, 4 of the books in the 9-volume series are already out in print. Book 4, Should Have Known Better, has been out for about 9 months now, and it tells the story of John and the lads during the height of Beatlemania, 1964, the year of Beatlemania. You can go explore that new volume, read chapters from each of the books on my website, johnlennonseries.com. And while you're there, just as Lanea said a few minutes ago, I invite you to sign up for my newsletter, because I always offer some great discounts and gifts and surprises via the newsletter. And just like Lanea, I am really looking forward to seeing each one of you at Beatles at the Ridge. And again, because I think people don't really hear this sometimes, this is a free Beatles festival and symposium. Symposiums are very expensive, and we do 2 days full of speakers and films. We're going to be showing Living in the Material World, the George Harrison, the Martin Scorsese George Harrison biography. We are going to have great guests, great speakers, free, September 20th and 21st in Walnut Ridge, Arkansas, and I am so excited about it. I'm also excited about seeing you before that in Chicago, August the 9th through the 11th, for the very best day of the year, the best weekend of the year, the Chicago Fest for Beatles fans, where, as Carol and Mark Lapidus have always promised, a splendid time is guaranteed for all. It's always a blast, so do not miss it.
Absolutely. You need to mark your calendars for both of these great dates coming up. And in August, we will have as our guest Tom Frangione of Sirius XM Radio's Beatles channel, and he's going to tell us more about the Chicago Fest for Beatles fans. Tom has been an integral part of the happening that is our beloved fest for more than 30 years, and he not only MCs the Beatles trivia game, but he also participates on many of the scholarly panels as well, and keeps things going for our fearless leaders, Mark and Carol Lapidus, who founded the Fest. So we're excited to have Tom grace our August She Said, which is, incredibly enough, just around the corner.
It is. It's crazy. Our summer lineup is amazing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show, but we are thrilled to get to our guest who is waiting in the wings. He is the very gifted son of a true rock music icon, the one and only Harry Nilsson, whose song Put the Lime in the Coconut you heard at the top of the show. So very truthfully, our guest has inherited his dad's passion and love for music, and these days it's his lifeline. He is fighting a fierce battle with cancer, and he's found that he feels more positive and more relaxed and full of healing when he's singing. So he's created a YouTube channel to do just that, and we are thrilled to be able to speak with him about this project as we welcome to She Said, Mr. Zak Nilsson. Zak, it is so good to have you on She Said, She Said.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
We are just very delighted to have you here, Zak, and know that you have a lot going on. As Jude was saying, you are battling cancer right now, and you have discovered a very brilliant, unique way to combat it and to make yourself feel more like yourself via music. So tell us about what you're doing and how it might help others who are fighting serious illness.
Oh, yeah. I call it Canceroke. It's just me doing what I call mediocre karaoke because I'm not all that good at it.
It's charming. It's charming.
The idea just came to me because I have this karaoke machine at home, and I just decided one day to just start singing and recording it for no other reason than for my own amusement. And then I just started uploading, and it turned into this Canceroke channel. So I just do it because I found that it helps me feel a little better physically if I exercise my lungs and singing muscles. Like I said, I'm not all that good at it, but it amuses me, so I just keep doing it.
I think it's terrific, and I love how you also you throw in history, some music trivia behind the artists that you are portraying on the, through the karaoke, and that always adds a really fun element to it also. And you did have a really, really cute co-singer one day on CPR
Oh, yeah, that
Day.
Was, right. That was my dog, Logan. Sometimes when I'm singing, he howls along with me, so he gets to participate, which he enjoyed.
I love it. And you're trying to get 100 people to follow the page, so we want everybody that's listening out there to go to YouTube, and it's Cancer Karaoke. And Zak, do you allow people to record their own on there, or what's the deal? Can anybody participate?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I have a little blurb out there that just says if you're suffering from cancer or you just want to join the cause, you can record your own, send it to me. All my info is on the YouTube page and on my Facebook page, and I'll post it up.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Well, obviously, music was a huge part of your life growing up, and although you lost your dad when you were 23, I know you have such wonderful memories of him and his friends and all those. It must have been so exciting to, during your growing up years, occasionally meet some of these great music legends. I know that one of the people you were really fortunate to meet was George Harrison. So tell us, if you don't mind, about your meeting with George, and I believe Olivia was there as well, and I believe that it was in one of George's very favorite places.
Oh, yeah. That's a good story. I was in London with Harry because he was recording a song for the movie The Fisher King. And one day after a session, we just drove out to George Harrison's house, which used to be a monastery. And we got there, and George was just walking around in his garden, power walking actually. And and he invited us in, and we spent a good 3 or 4 hours there. George showed us around his house, and he showed us his studio in the house. And one of the most impressive things actually there was in the studio, on the wall were all of his guitars. There were something like 40-something guitars, all of them. The Beatles guitars, the guitars Eric Clapton had given, guitars from Jimi Hendrix. It was amazing. It's when you see something like that you get the sense that you're in the presence of an actual, real legend, you know?
Yeah.
And we spent the rest of the day, we had lunch. It was just 5 of us. It was me and Harry and George and Olivia and Danny.
Wow.
And we just had lunch in his kitchen and talked. And for me, it was amazing because to speak to someone like George Harrison outside of the public eye, just in his his own home setting, was eye-opening. It was really amazing to get to know the man himself outside of the media circus and everything else, outside of the public opinion. And that remains in my mind one of the greatest experiences I've ever had.
How old were you at that time?
Oh yeah, I was. Let's see, how old was I? I was about 20 years old when we did that.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you want to ask something, Lena?
Well, I was just going to comment that it's like, this intangible person, this godlike person that you don't even feel like really exists, and then there you are in their home.
Yeah.
And that's it had to have been just quite a moving experience, even for a 20-year-old.
Like
you recognized the power of that event.
Yeah, I mean, at 20 years old, I knew who the Beatles were and how big they were, the biggest band in the world ever. So meeting George was really spectacular because it turns out when it's just him and his family and no one else really, he was a really nice guy, very kind, very warm, and we just talked about regular things.
Yeah. That's amazing, so amazing. Well, I know that, of course, George wasn't the only Beatle who loved your dad and has wonderful memories of recording with him, because Paul McCartney certainly has a great affection for Harry. And I know that you recently received a letter from Paul telling you exactly that. So if you don't mind, would you mind sharing that with us?
Oh, yeah. I was diagnosed with cancer this past January, and out of the blue one day, I got a letter in the mail, and it was from Paul McCartney, and it's on his own stationery, and I can read it to you if you want.
Yeah.
I have it right here. It's dated February 4th, so just a little while after I was diagnosed, and it says, "Dear Zach, Paul McCartney here. Stephen Kalinich, who is a mutual friend of ours, wrote to me to let me know that you're about to have chemo, so I'm sending you this note to encourage you to be strong and positive. I was very privileged to know your dad, whom I knew as a lovely guy and a great talent. I wish you the very best of luck with the treatment. My wife Nancy went through it years ago and stuck with it even though she hated it. And she is now better and well, except for the fact that she is married to me." Sending the very best vibrations to you. Be well. Love, Paul. And that caught me by surprise because it's literally out of the blue, like with no warning or anything. And I have never actually met Paul in person. This letter comes in, and it really, really affected me.
Wow.
Yes, that is a really emotional words that he wrote, and that's really, really touching.
Yeah, you probably just changed my whole opinion because, I'm such a John girl that I tend to really, not be as big on Paul. But I tell you what, that was a nice, kind, positive, and funny letter. So kudos to Mr. McCartney for that one.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's hard when you're somebody as famous as Paul or George or anyone else like that. It's all about public image and public opinion. You never really know who the person is behind all that. Sometimes you get something like this that gives you a little glimpse into who they really are.
Yeah,
and, I really appreciated that.
I'll never forget that. That will be with me the rest of my life. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us so much.
Oh, sure.
Very cool, very cool. Well, speaking of the great John Lennon, I know your dad was a very, very close friend of John during the so erroneously labeled Lost Weekend, which of course wasn't a weekend. It was 18 months that John spent in Los Angeles, and it definitely was not lost. It was a very, extremely productive time for John, inspired by the muse of May Pang, who was just so wonderful for him. And in April of that year, John was in a television interview asked who his favorite American recording artist was, and without batting an eye, he responded, Nilsson. Your dad gave us so many classic songs. I mean, if you just can almost not keep from batting tears back when you hear Can't Live If Living Without You. It is a beautiful song. Harry's an icon, but of course to you, he was Dad. So tell us a little bit about the man behind the legend.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly it. He was Dad to me as I was growing up. And, you know, when you're younger, you don't really understand everything about someone's musical career, right? You just, you don't really get it. So it was the same for me. Harry was just my dad, and he was a great dad. I mean, unfortunately, he and my mom got divorced when I was real young, like I was 4, something like that. But I would come down to visit Harry as the years went by, and when I did, we did all kinds of stuff together. He went out of his way to make sure that we spent time together when I would come to visit him, and always took the time to make sure that I was happy that, you know, everything was working out well. It's hard to describe because not only were my parents divorced, but one of them was this famous musician. And it seems like that's an impossible situation to overcome for a kid. But really, Harry was a family man at heart. All he really wanted was a family. I don't think he could make it work on the surface. Like, all of his interests sort of conflicted with that. But that's what he really wanted. So he always felt really guilty that he and my mom got divorced, and he always tried to make up for it when I came down to visit. So as far as my relationship with Harry went, it was really good, if not, you know, I didn't live with him all the time, but it was still really good, and we still did a lot of things together, and I have really fond memories of all of it, despite the divorce and everything else.
Well, that's, you know, a lot of families experience that trauma, and you were fortunate that you had good experiences coming from that, and had quality experiences with him, and that is what is important, and probably what I'm leading into is a performance that I saw on YouTube as well of a song tribute that you wrote for Harry. And tell us a little bit about that song.
Oh yeah, well every year in LA we do this Harry Nilsson birthday show near his birthday, and a bunch of musicians come in. We all play Harry music for 3 or 4 hours, and it's amazing. And I wanted to do something for the show, so rather than singing one of Harry's songs, I wrote a song about Harry and sang that instead. From my perspective, it's called A Bigger Man because it's how I see him. I always saw him as this giant redwood tree of a man who was kind to me all the time, and I just respected him so much, and that's what the song is about. It's about how he would do anything for a friend, and all the good qualities that I saw in him all the time. And I you know, being a public figure, you don't always get to see that side of Harry. You know, a lot of people just see the Lost Weekend, you know, with John Lennon and getting drunk all the time, and the Hollywood vampires and all of that. And they don't see this other side of Harry where he's a family man. And he did get remarried, and he had 6 kids with the second marriage. And they're all my half-brothers and sisters, and I love all of them. And we have this amazing relationship together because of Harry, because that's what he wanted, and he made it happen.
That's terrific. Well, I know that we are a more Beatles-based show, and we like to talk about the Beatles, but and we really appreciate hearing you talk about George and Paul. Those are incredible experiences. But are there other musicians that were, quote, in your life that influenced and shaped your passion for music?
Oh yeah, tons of musicians. I mean, I haven't really met all that many famous musicians, but Randy Newman, Van Dyke Parks, these are all friends of Harry's.
Yeah.
And they're very cool people. As far as musicians who inspired me personally, I was a child of the 80s. I mean, I was born in the 70s, but I started listening to my own music in the 80s. So I was influenced musically by a lot of 80s artists like Prince and The Fix and a lot of 80s acts like that. As far as musicians that I've met in person, it's more like Randy Newman was amazing to talk to. When I met him, he gave me a big hug because everyone I meet who is friends of Harry's treats me like I'm family because that's how much they loved Harry. They don't even need to know me. They just need to know that I was Harry's kid, so therefore, they want to give me a hug, and it's incredible the kind of family that has been generated in the music industry because of Harry.
Wow.
That's terrific. Okay, so I know that we want to increase the followers on your Canceroke YouTube page and, spread the word, because I think this is inspirational for those of you that might be going through cancer and other health issues yourself. And heck, I'm just crazy, and so I'm thinking I might submit a karaoke performance because I'm just crazy. So, but Zach, tell us where everybody can find you at Facebook and Twitter or Instagram or anything, any other sites that people could follow and see what you're up
sure.
to.
Yeah, on YouTube for the Canceroke page, it's youtube.com/C/Canceroke. Or if you just go to YouTube and in the search bar, just type in Canceroke and it'll come up. I'm on Twitter at XAQTLY, or you can just search for Zak Nilsson. And I'm on Facebook as Zak Nilsson. And I post my Canceroke videos on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So it's pretty easy to find. And check it out. It's fun. It's, like I said, it's mediocre karaoke.
I love it.
Just do it because, I do it because it makes me feel better and it's fun.
Yeah.
Yep, I love it. I think it's spectacular. And it's spelled Cancer, Canceroke. And Zach's name is spelled Zak, ZakNilsson. And another, I'm going to have to stop. I lost my train of thought. so Rand can cut out my...
Got it. Time 27. Here. Got it. Okay.
Okay. Well, Zach, if you don't mind, we're going to close the show with one of your Canceroke songs. And we want to thank you so much for coming on the program and giving us some personal insight to some of the wonderful people that, to most of us, are not dear friends, but public personalities. As you were saying earlier, fans feel connected to celebrities via their craft, whether it's art or music or acting, and when the children of those celebrities emerge, this wonderful thing happens, usually wonderful, where those children are consequently received into the hearts of the fans as well. And I think that is obviously what has happened with you and Harry's friends. They they just are going to welcome you into their hearts as they did Harry. So we really appreciate hearing all of the wonderful stories and knowing that you enjoyed all of these events and enjoyed these people as real people. So thank you for allowing the fans of your father and the Beatles to get a peek into the unique experiences that you have. And we wish you so much good fortune and good health, and are hopeful that you beat this cancer very quickly.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah,
we loved having you on here. I promise you I will carry that Paul McCartney story with me for the rest of my life. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, that is an amazing comment to come from Jude Southerland Kessler. And so that was groundbreaking right there. So before we play out with one of Zak's songs, I want to remind you all that next month we'll have part 2 of our highly popular interview with Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member and lead guitarist for the Cars, Elliot Easton. Elliot's last show was off the charts great. I'm smiling so much remembering it. So don't miss part 2. You are going to love it. Here's to Food for Thought, Food for the Soul, and Food for the Love of Rock and Roll.
Ta-ra and shine on.
He grew up poor and he grew up fast. His heart was full of compassion. Pay your bill if you were in need. He was a bigger man than me. My teacher drove me to New York, dropped me off with Harry. For 2 full hours they talked and laughed. He was a bigger man than me. Dinner in London with old family friends. We talked about Harry for hours. We laughed and cried into our tea. He was a bigger man than me. He was a bigger man than me. Taller than a redwood tree. And the hole that he left behind when he died could swallow the South China Sea. He was a bigger man than me, and he loved his family. There's nothing he wouldn't have done for any of us. He was a bigger man than me. He was 6'4", I'm just 6'3". He's a bigger man than me. He weighed 245, I'm down to 203. Was a bigger man than me. He wrote songs using words like surreptitiously. Was a bigger man than me. He'd do you all any favor, and he'd do it for free. Was a bigger man than me.